Hey, Slash, what's happening, brother?
Hey, what's happening? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm very honored to be talking to you. One of my childhood heroes on the phone with me right now. It's Slash. You know him from Guns N' Roses. Slash is Snake Pit, the supergroup Velvet Revolver, and he's got a brand new album out, Slash. It's a bunch of collabos, and he's going to be here in Jacksonville this Tuesday night with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm terribly excited about the show. I loved the new album. You like this generation's Carlos Santana. It's really a brilliant album. All the working with those people, was there anybody that you saw like that maybe you'd like to form the next supergroup with?
No, I mean that was pretty much a one-off. It was and it's like sort of inspired to do this one thing. I don't have any plans on doing another one, but that doesn't mean I won't do sessions with other people and stuff like that. I've been doing that for years, but I don't have anything set up at this point that I'm looking forward to doing at the moment.
I don't want to throw in a spoiler for the concert because I want people to come out because I think it's going to be a great show, and the Veterans Memorial Arena is a great venue because there's not a bad seat in the house. On the album, there's a song you do with Ozzy. Is that going to be done live at the show?
We haven't done it yet. It's working with Ozzy on tour. He like definitely have our set together and he has his set together. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We go really hardcore. So we haven't really gotten to that point where we've been able to relax enough to go, hey, you want to jam on this thing, and when can we rehearse it, and blah, 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 blah. So we'll see if it happens, but we haven't done it up to this point. It's a cool song, though.
No, it's a great song. The whole album, I thought the album was really fantastic, and not to minimize what you did with GNR, but I think that the things that you've done since GNR have almost been more musically, I don't want to say important, but it's definitely been sonically a little bit more diverse.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. That's it. I mean, I think probably all it is you just striving to do stuff that's interesting or taking some risk or whatever. When Guns N' Roses was together, sometimes I look back on it and look at how cool it was because we were really young and we were really sort of outcasts in this business, and we managed to pull it off. And then, we did a lot of really interesting stuff along the way. And then so after that, I did Snake Pit, which is very straight ahead, sort of dirty rock and roll kind of stuff. And then you start looking for different ways of expressing different things and whatnot. So you try to keep it interesting as you move along.
Now, you've worked with everybody on this album, from Fergie to Chris Cornell to Ozzy Osbourne. You even made an appearance at the Super Bowl this year. What was that like?
That was a trip, man. To get a phone call to come play the Super Bowl was pretty surreal in and of itself. And so I went down there, and this production that they put together, I've sort of catch halftime shows here and there, but this production that they put together was mind-blowing. And so, I got up and did my bit, which was, I think 2.5, 3 minutes long at best. But, just everything else that was going on around it, there was so many moving parts, and it was so coordinated. It was really an experience, to say the least.
It's such an amazing thing because, there's 105,000 people in the stadium watching you, and then another 116 million watching on TV.
I didn't even think about the people that were watching on TV. If I had, it probably would have been a little bit more, overwhelming. But, I mean, just being in the stadium was, and I played, to big audiences in excess of 100,000 in my career. But something about the intensity of a Super Bowl audience, also because it's one of the best matchups. It was a really classic matchup. So the overall vibe was just really exciting.
You could see it in the production, and then you came out and you did your part, and people blew up. That has to feel amazing.
Yeah, it felt good at the time. I actually haven't seen it on regular, I haven't seen a tape of it or anything like that. But I watched. After I came off, I went straight back to the dressing room, and I watched a feed on the monitor in the dressing room, and it was pretty intense to look at. They didn't have any audio on the feed, so I didn't actually hear it, but it looked really cool.
Sounded great. You sounded amazing. Did you get to watch any of the game?
Yeah, no, I watched the game beforehand and after. I mean, all things considered, in a way, not to undermine the actual performance part, but just getting invited to go down there and play was also a huge excuse to be able to be in person at the game, because I've never been to a Super Bowl.
Well, and you got to think the people that they've had do this before. We're talking about the Rolling Stones, the Who, Paul McCartney, the Black Eyed Peas, one of the biggest groups in the world, and then they say Slash, and that solidifies your iconography as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, I hadn't really looked at it in that way. I always felt pretty humbled about the whole thing, but okay, there you go.
No, I mean, it's so funny because I've got Appetite for Destruction. I've got every one of the Guns N' Roses albums. I've got them framed in the records and everything like that. And to be talking to you and to be looking, 5 days out from seeing the concert, I mean, that's a pretty great feeling for me and probably for everybody in Jacksonville.
Well, that's you're embarrassing me now. It's going to be a killer gig. That's what I wanted to stress. That we've been touring around together, Ozzy and myself, for the last I guess it's been about a month, and it's just a killer double bill, and it's probably one of the few sort of like rock events like that there are going, at the moment, and it's been really exciting. The fans have been insane, and the bands have just been on top of their game, and it's just been a lot of fun.
What do you guys have planned for the show? Who do you have singing the tracks from the new album?
Well, okay, this is what I've been doing. When I put the record out, two of the songs on the record are sung by a guy named Miles Kennedy. And so when he came down, I didn't know who he was, and I had 2 songs left over. I'd done the whole album, and I had 2 pieces of music that I thought were really good, and I'd been planning on getting vocals on them. And I made the whole record before I figured out who was going to sing those 2 songs, and I couldn't think of anybody. And then I'd been hearing this name Miles Kennedy around, and I knew that Zeppelin had tried him out, so on and so forth. And so I just took a shot in the dark and called him up, and he sang these 2 songs. One's called Starlight, and the other one's called Back from Cali. In the process of putting a band together to go out on the road, and I asked him if he wanted to sing, and so he was on a break from his band, which is called Alter Bridge. And so, we put it together, and we've been touring since last March. So that's what we're gonna be doing in Fort Lauderdale. Or Jacksonville, rather. Sorry.
That's all right. We get confused all the time. What's funny is that Starlight is actually my favorite song on the entire album.
I will let the cat out of the bag that we're actually going to play that. At first, we didn't play it for a while on the tour because we were expecting. I don't know. I didn't know if that song was going to be a little bit too ballady for the Ozzy sort of audience, but it turns out we have a lot of our own fans at these gigs, so we threw it in the set, and it goes over really well.
I'm really looking forward to it. Our time is running short with you, Slash. I just want to say it's going to be this Tuesday, the 22nd, Veterans Memorial Arena. I will be there. Do you think that maybe during Starlight, after a solo, you kind of tip your hat as like a symbol, like a signal to me?
Yeah, well, I'll try to remember that. But in the meantime, I really appreciate all the compliments, and I'm not pulling your chain when I tell you it's going to be a killer show.
Oh, no, I believe it, and I think that everybody listening believes it too. So thanks for your time, Slash.
All right.